are so disconnected from each other. We're living and COVID as well. Like, something that I have been feeling passionate about too is our generation, specifically like us in this room, are finding convenience over connection. It's nice to see though that people are starting to connect with each other more, because I really feel like that's what's going to help us get out of this, or that's just what's going to bring us together, I feel like, again, because we're all just like silently struggling with the lack of connection. And what you had said, the loneliness epidemic, it's happening. Like, we're living in it right now. It's not that it's coming, like, it's happening.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the All of You podcast, season 2. Oh my goodness. Season 2. Now's the time for you to, if you're not already, subscribe and like and hit the bell notification. And if you're on Spotify, you should comment on Spotify. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, you should do that too. And I'm going to stop rambling on about this introduction because I'm so excited about our next guest. Emily, welcome to the All of You podcast.
Thank you. I'm like smiling so hard right now. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited as
Thanks
well.
for having me.
You're so very welcome. It is a beautiful winter day, and you've come all the way to the set of TOYP. And I would just like to kick things off by having the opportunity for you to sort of let the listeners know who you are, and maybe just a really high level story of what's brought you here today. And I'll probably interrupt 49 times because that's my style. But yeah, who are you? Why are you here? Why have you made it to the set of the All of You podcast?
Well, hey everyone. My name is Emily, and I would say that Shannon and I crossed paths through the academic field. I was one of her students back at Sheridan in 2018.
Yes, pre-pandemic student, which was
wild. And I was studying gerontology at the time. But before, I'll kind of backtrack a little bit. Before I went to school for gerontology, I actually worked in a retirement home as my first job.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Because the listeners, not everybody will know what gerontology is. So can you define for me what is gerontology?
Yeah, gerontology is the study of older adults. And in our program, we just learned about the aging process, how to really support a healthy aging process, and also learning about dementia, cognitive impairments, and just the changes that are associated with aging. But in short, it is the study of older adults. And I actually never knew that you could study that until I was in high school one day. And my one teacher had said, the baby boomers are approaching retirement age, and the gerontology field is going to have so many jobs. And I was working at a retirement home in the kitchen at that time.
And that's where you and I are similar.
Okay.
Because I worked in a long-term care home and a retirement home when I was in high school too.
Yeah. So when I loved the job that I did, and I loved being around older adults. And then when I heard that, I was like, wait, you can study older adults? Like, let me look into this.
Not as a nurse. Like you can actually study. Yeah, exactly.
So I went and looked at programs that were like gerontology focused, and I found the Sheridan program. And then I think was it in my first year or second year that you were my professor, or both?
I would have had you in your second semester.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you were in your placement.
Okay.
Or did you have placement?
I had placement 2 placements.
I was the more serious placement.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you did the 8-month one.
Okay.
600
Ooh,
whatever
also
hour
like
one.
I was remembering some things that happened during that. I don't know if you remember with my placement at that time.
Well, I do remember some, and listen, some placement experiences are way better than others.
Yeah.
Some placements, they take on too many students, and then it impacts the quality of the experience for the student.
Agreed.
We won't say any names. But yeah, I've supervised many placements in my career. And I remember your field placement visit vividly. I remember your hair.
Really?
I remember you had braids.
And you said that, and I honestly didn't remember.
Yeah. I don't know why I remember that. I remember you had braids. I remember you being so vivacious and so like, when I walked in, I think you had a placement with 2 other students, but it was clear to me that like you were more of the well-known of the 3 of the students in the group. Can you maybe talk a little bit about why you think that is?
Sure. You know, when people ask me this, it's like, I want to give a response in like a humble way, but I truly feel like my purpose on this earth is to like support older adults and just be there to be like that cheerleader for them. I think when we had spoken recently, I said like, regardless of what work I'm doing with older adults, I really feel like the intention that I set is like, it's an honor to be able to serve them in whatever capacity it is. So when I was working in the retirement home, it brings me joy to see older adults having fun and just living life. And I actually will share like a little story from that placement. I had one of the residents write me a letter because remember for our assignments, we would have to have like evidence to support like our placement was going well.
Yeah, the blasted learning contract that everyone hated. Oh my gosh. And if I'm being honest with you, please don't tell my boss or anyone this, but sometimes there are make work projects, and I feel like the learning contract is just something that they make you do to hold you accountable. But in every single placement, your learning goals and crap change. Like it all changes and it shifts. And as you get more experience and more opportunities come up, I freaking hated marking those stupid things. Anyway.
So I had got a letter from one of the residents there, and I have that letter in my special memory box still.
Oh my gosh.
And like, I will read it back sometimes if I'm like doubting, like, am I doing the right thing or something? And like in it, he says that I was a natural born leader. And he said within the first couple days, I knew the residents' names and I was saying, good job, blank, in like the exercise classes and stuff.
Yep.
And the end of it, he had written, all in all, we think that Emily is a well-rounded young woman who's going to like go far. And like him saying that was just like, wow. So I think I recognize the impact that I have, but then also hearing it from the residents and seeing it, I think it's just, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I feel like it's just who I am.
It's a part of your DNA at this point.
It's encoded in my DNA.
Encoded. Well, you grew up, and same with me. Like I grew up, the very first job I ever had was in a long-term care home. I started in the laundry department. Then I moved to the housekeeping. Then I moved to dietary. Then they trained me to be a healthcare aide. So I was in the same long-term care home for 8 years. Wow. And I just always thought that I was going to work in the field of geriatrics, and stay in long-term care forever too. But it's funny because one of the reasons why Olive Branch Mentorship is called Olive Branch Mentorship, and why my dog's name is Olive, and like why there's olives all over the wall, is actually one of the very first elderly women that I experienced death with in the long-term care home. Her name was Olive, and she was 93 years old, and I was only 14. Yeah. And I had, latched on to my few residents that when I would go in for my shift in the evening or whatever, I did 2 or 3 shifts a week after school, 3 to 7. And she was one of my favorites. You're not supposed to, but you get your favorites.
We all do.
Yeah. And I just loved her so much. Like the end of my shift was always like after dinner. And so I would do friendly visiting. Yeah. And she would just putter around her room, like getting ready for bed. And I would say goodnight to her. Okay, see you in a couple days. And then one day I came in for a shift and she was gone. And I was heartbroken. Like it was my first experience. And she's always just stayed with me.
Yeah. It's like so special to have those certain residents, and I don't know even if they would have known the impact that they had on our lives, but I can even still like name like my favorite residents from that first job, and I still actually have one of their obituary cards from the visitation.
Oh my gosh.
And I actually was saying to my friend who's like very new into the field, she's in college right now, we had a death of one of our favorite residents recently, and we went to the funeral. And she's like, does this get any easier? And I was like, well, no, it doesn't get any easier. But as you start to spend more time with the residents and you build these relationships, something that has helped me is knowing that like every interaction is so intentional, because it might be the last time that you see them, especially in long-term care. Yeah. And so there's been quite a few deaths that have happened with my favorite residents or residents that I had a special bond with, but I don't feel that guilt that I maybe felt when I was first getting into the field, because when I say goodbye to them, it's with the intention that this might be the last time I see you.
Yeah.
Which is hard, but
I mean,
it's helpful, I think.
It's silly that we're saying that we should do this with the elderly people that we see because it could be the last time, but it's quite literally that way with every person that you come into contact with.
Yeah.
You never know if it could be the last time that you see someone. Like, frick, you could walk outside today and get smoked by a transport truck. Heaven forbid. Knock on wood. I don't know. That's incredible. And so we were actually chatting about how the way of the world and how much the world has changed and the fascinating stories I think that elderly people have. I feel very compelled to be able to sit down, and this is a goal of mine for 2025, is to be able to sit down with elderly people over the age of 65, like we're going to call it seniors. And I want to just sit down with people who have had fascinating lives, fascinating careers, who've done fascinating things, because I think that there's a disconnect between the younger generations and the older generations.
Absolutely.
And their ability to effectively communicate with each other. And, you know, you think about a Gen Alpha, a 14, 15-year-old or Gen Z, you know, they don't think of elderly people, I don't think, the same way that you and I see elderly people. Unless you've been there and done it, I don't think you can really understand how fascinating those relationships can be. Yeah.
Or even just expanding your experience with older adults outside of your grandparents, because I think it's unfortunate, but a lot of people have this like fear of older adults. They don't want to go into long-term care home. They don't know what to say to older adults.
Yeah.
But it's just like they were once in our shoes, and also like they have helped build the society and the world that we live in now. So it's nice
for better or for worse.
Yeah, literally. But it's nice to see that like there are people like you and I who are like setting out on that mission of capturing those stories.
Well, listen, I say to every single one of my classes, like if you want to get into the business, to a business where you will never be without employment, like if you want to get into a field of helping people, you should probably help old people, because there will always be old people.
Yeah.
And in fact, what do they say? By the year 2030, more than 20% of our population will be over the age of 65.
Yeah. The majority of like the age group population is going to be 65 plus.
Yeah.
In Canada, I believe. Yeah.
And I mean, I already think that the healthcare system is a busted, broken down golf cart. Like it's hardly standing on its own 2 feet at this point. And in a few short years, when we have this tsunami of people navigating the healthcare system,
the dementia tsunami as well is coming.
Talk to me about the dementia tsunami.
Well, I don't have any really words besides like we need to be talking about it more. Working for a community organization that specifically supports people living with dementia, you see, one thing that I realized when I got this job was how many people are functioning in society.
Can I pause you for a second? We didn't even get into that. What is your current job now? You don't have to get into where and whatever, but like what is your job in the scope of your job?
Yeah. So I work as a care navigator. So when somebody gets a diagnosis of dementia, or they're a self-referral and they've realized, hey, I need some support. I'm having some memory changes. They might have a diagnosis. They might not. We get referrals from doctors. We get referrals from like sometimes like seniors mental health. Different organizations will refer people, or they can come in themselves. Basically what I do is I meet with them. I do an intake. We speak about what's been going on, and then we create a care plan together. So they might be engaging in like social activities. They might be going to support group to speak with other people who are living with memory changes. But the nice thing is that we don't just support the people living with memory changes. We also support their caregivers. So if if it's like a spouse, friend, family member, they can come in as well. And what I like to say to my clients is that the support will look different for everyone. We'll support you as little or as much as you want. And I like to I'm that first point of contact.
I just think that there's a lack of support and education for caregivers. Like, I haven't been in the community for years. I've been in the hospital system, and so many families come in, and it's like you're literally starting from point A scratch to even educate them on the complexities of the healthcare system. Yeah. Like
And it's more of a reason too, Shannon, when you say that, is like why it's so important to have community resources, because if caregivers can get support early on, they're not going to be going to the emerge fully burnt out, not knowing where else to turn, because they have that circle of support built. So that's kind of what I do, is I start to build that circle for them. And we connect with each other and just see like, hey, what do you think would be beneficial? Sometimes it's education about dementia. Sometimes it's being in a support group with caregivers, other caregivers as well, to validate, hey, this happened to me too. This is what worked for me. Or, hey, this happened to me. That was really tough. I'm here if you need to talk. And it's a privilege to be that first point of contact, because I will have like clients say to me like, wow, I feel so much better now. Like, or I never knew that
seen
these
and heard. And
yeah. Or I never knew that these supports existed. So that's what I do for work right now. And I still am working in a long-term care home as well, just casually. But
don't you find everybody who works in healthcare is slinging at least 2 jobs? Yeah. Like everyone I know who works in the business of caring people,
pay the social workers and community workers more.
Everyone I know that works in the business of caring people is juggling multiple jobs. And okay. So you were talking about the dementia tsunami. So as somebody who's been doing this, and I've been out of the field of geriatrics directly, like I still work with the older adult population, but not day in, day out every day anymore. So this term, it was always the silver tsunami when I was learning. So now you're talking about a dementia tsunami. So what do you think the things that are impacting this? Is it what we're eating? Is it what we're watching? Is it what we're consuming? What is contributing to this?
So the biggest factor, I would say, like we were saying about the aging population is increasing, is age. Age is the biggest risk factor for dementia. But some of my thoughts that I have, and just things that I've seen with being that first point of contact, I like to ask, when did you start to notice memory changes? And Shannon, the amount of people who have said like during COVID, when they were socially isolated from each other,
no
staying
cognitive
in their
stimulation, loneliness,
everything. So I really believe, and I've looked into seeing like, are there studies that are being done at this point about COVID and the impact that it's had on dementia? There's nothing
we
being
don't
done
even
yet.
know what the impact is going to be on the younger generation, like the COVID babies.
No,
we have no idea what those children are going to grow up like.
I actually, when I was in community safety, the second program that I did, it was the start of COVID. And
so because you graduated in 2019 from the program that we were in, and then you would have jumped right into the community safety program. Wow.
So I did 1 year, it was like normal. And then in my second year, everything kind of turned upside down. I actually remember the day, March 13th, 2020 was the day that I launched the toolkit with my other job at that time, the senior to senior bullying toolkit. Oh my
gosh.
And we got kicked out of the boardroom for an emergency meeting.
Stop it.
And then after our launch, they were like, hey, like everyone needs to leave campus. We're thinking it's 2 weeks. I never returned to the campus again.
No. Oh my gosh. You remember, like, it is wild to me that we're in year 5. Like I can't believe it's been 5 years since that shit went down.
Actually declared over?
I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah. So,
I don't think it's going anywhere ever.
Yeah. What I was going to say is because I was studying community safety, all of our assignments, everything was about COVID. And I did one paper on PTSD and the long-term impacts of COVID. And one of the statistics had said that we're not even going to be seeing signs of PTSD until 4 years after the pandemic's been declared over. We don't even know if it's been declared over at this point.
I don't know. But I still do weird things. Like I traveled over the Christmas break and I was like, but don't I need to bring my COVID vaccine card? Like I just, and it's not even paid attention to anymore. Like there's no protocols. So maybe we can, to the state of Canada, the COVID pandemic has been declared over. We are officially declaring it over on the All of You podcast.
I'm over it.
Mentally, I'm over it too.
Yeah. So I think that COVID is a big impact, or it's going to play a big role in the increased numbers in dementia. And then also I think the healthcare system is playing a role in it as well. When people are burnt out or people aren't getting the right supports, then that can also impact the quality of their healthcare, which can then impact their overall health. And then I do believe that, yes, like the foods that we're eating, I didn't realize until I went to other countries, like we always like to look at like the US as their food is like so highly processed and everything.
They just banned red dye 40 in the US.
But in Canada, we still have like so much access to foods. Also, why am I buying raspberries and blueberries and they are not going bad? I forgot about them in my fridge. There's no mold on them at all. So I'm just like,
raspberries go bad in like 2 days, right? If you don't eat them.
That's what I'm saying.
Freaking injected with hormones and
shit. That's what I'm saying. So I remember when I went to the UK for the first time, there were so many foods that we have in Canada that I couldn't find there. And it's because they have like stricter laws with what they'll allow into the country. So I do believe that food plays a role as well. Obviously, they recommend like eating a Mediterranean diet or eating foods aligned with
for brain health.
Yeah. So those are all, I think, contributing factors. But I personally will die on the hill of socialization as the worst one. We're so disconnected from each other. We're living and COVID as well. Like something that I have been feeling passionate about too is our generation, specifically like us in this room, are finding convenience over connection with a lot of things. So
sorry to interrupt, but that's why I am so adamant on having people come here for the podcast. I know that you can do a podcast over Zoom or whatever, but like I want to see you. Like I want to see your face.
You want to feel the energy. You want to bounce off each other.
There's just nothing. You can't tell me that a podcast over Zoom is the same as.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally feel you. Our generation, we're the most connected we've ever been. Right. But disconnected at the root.
Even just like when you think of our everyday things, like, okay, guys, question for everyone here. How many people would prefer to go to self-checkout over going to a cashier? Just everyone in the room. Like,
I have social anxiety, though, and I don't like making eye contact. Really, like I don't love having small talk, and I feel like I have to talk to this stinking cashier. Like, but mark my flipping words, Emily. Like every time I use the self checkout, I always screw something up, and so I have to talk to the lady anyway.
Right? Yeah, like you're like, oh, why am I doing this? So for me, I'm like, these are small things that are becoming normalized. So whenever I do see, there's something funny actually. Giant Tiger is one store in one of their locations. They had self-checkouts done and they have such a high population of older adults that were using it and they all complained together. They took all the self-checkouts out.
Bless
so they only have the real cashiers now. These are also things that, like you had said, the small talk, but some older adults, that's the only form of connection that they've had.
Exactly. Like when they go out to Giant Tiger to get their canned beans and their hot dogs, like they look forward to that interaction that they're going to have with the checkout lady. And then when they go to the bank to cash their check and take out all their bills and, you know, so the cutie little things that old people do.
Yeah. So I would say like, it's small things like that or even you can order anything off Amazon, but what about going to the actual store to get it? We want like quick and easy. And I'm guilty of this as well. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh,
so guilty of it.
Pardon?
Oh my God. Well, I had this conversation with my therapist. I was in the deepest, darkest depths of a depression at the end of 2024.
Amazon made some good money.
I said to my therapist, I was like, I don't ever have to leave my house. I never, ever have to leave. Like I can get everything I need delivered to me, including people. Like I can say, come and have a podcast with me. Yeah. I don't even have to go outside because the podcast is here. And I can pretend for 5 minutes like I'm not, you know, ready to jump out the window. But yeah, you can literally have everything and anything you want ever delivered to your door.
And just because it's convenient in the short term, but long term, what is it doing to us? So
it's isolating you. It's
COVID, like social isolation also, it's called social isolation. So that's bad enough that we've been isolated from each other. Even I'm sure you know this, like when you were my professor, I was very outgoing, very social, always wanted to be a part of things. And the last couple years,
on all these committee, like doing all these social things. I was like, who is this girl? My God.
I don't know. But when COVID started, like that was so hard for me. Like I bet even now going out and like coming here, I felt anxious a little bit. Like I'm socializing with people. And so it's like, I have to learn to sit with that uncomfortable feeling because we're all experiencing it, but then having the courage to still move forward because I know on the other side of that, I'm going to feel better after.
Of course.
Like even walking in here, I was like, It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, and so I feel like all of us are like silently suffering from this. Me, you,
all of you,
yes, you as well.
The podcast where we sit down with all of you and we talk about the uncomfortable things.
Right. So it's like, that's why it's so important to have these conversations, because I would have loved to have more people talking about this, or just if it's almost like if you don't see the person that you aspire, like, or if you don't see the person who inspires you, then like become that person. And I just feel like even like men and loneliness, like I could talk about that as well. It's like
same girl. Like I want to do a whole freaking solo podcast episode on like the loneliness epidemic, but it's especially bad for men. I think it's because historically there were spaces where men could meet and things, you know, now that doesn't exist. And
we don't have hobbies.
We don't have and the younger generation isn't drinking the same way that, do you identify as millennial, Gen Z? What is your generation?
I don't know what I am, because sometimes I say millennial and then sometimes I say Gen Z, and then people are like,
be on the cusp. I think it's
I'm on the cusp. I identify more, I would say, with millennial. Like I don't drink anymore. I actually, in November, was my like 3-year anniversary of like giving up alcohol.
Good for you.
Thank you. COVID was literally, I was like, when you're locked, I was living in a basement, no windows.
I was locked in a basement.
I was locked in a basement for 89 days. I had a journal. It'd be like day 9 of quarantine, day 27. And all that was open was the LCBO. I didn't get addicted to anything, but it was like, oh, this was what I was looking forward to. And then I realized like, I just want to be more intentional with like what I'm doing. And then I said to myself, I'm going to stop drinking for like a year. And then 2 years came, and then I was just like, I just don't have a desire anymore.
This is so common. I don't even remember the stat, but I just read something recently. It was like Forbes or something came out with a study that said that the younger generation is drinking the least amount of any generation ever. Yeah. And I mean, if I think back, and there's pictures, like there's photo evidence of the shenanigans that I got up to when I was 19, 20, 21, 22 on the internet, and like foolish things, foolish girl. Yeah. And you know, it's like, and so I just think younger people are realizing the detriment it has to your health. Talk about brain health, like Korsakoff syndrome, right? Isn't that the one that's brought on by alcohol? I
cannot confirm or deny.
Korsakoff is the one that's the alcoholic dementia.
I don't know if that's what it's called, but
it's Korsakoff is the one that's brought on by extreme alcoholism. But anyways, these younger generations are doing things differently for their health and their well-being and their quality of life and work-life balance. Yeah. There's just a completely different perspective now.
So it does then, with that being said, it's making it harder to socialize, because alcohol is such a socialization tool. It lowers
your inhibitions. And that was part of the reason why I had such an unhealthy relationship with alcohol in my 20s, is because of my social anxiety. Right. I am diagnosed. I'm neurodivergent, ADHD. I would even go out on a limb and say I have a touch of autism sometimes. Like, I used alcohol as a way to get myself through social situations. Yeah. As a crutch. It's not healthy, but I didn't have anybody telling me not to do it. Right. And it was just the culture. Like,
it's so normalized.
It was so normalized. And I'm not proud of the copious amounts of times that I blacked out at parties. Like, but shots and, you know, like, keg stands. Are you kidding? I did keg stands. Keg stands. Me. Yep. Yeah. Like wild times. But and that doesn't happen anymore. Like I don't know. Parker, do you do keg stands? You don't drink?
Wow. 2 for 2 here.
Any of the fraternities or anything, did they throw parties like that? Like keg parties? Does that exist?
Yeah. No, it definitely exists.
What are they? Res parties.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It definitely exists. But you know what, Shannon, even like I was talking to my friend recently about like what I got up to when I was in Guatemala, and I was like, oh, that's not even me anymore. So it's like, it's okay that has happened, because now we can reflect on it and like use it as a learning experience. And I think it's so easy. The easier way to kind of go through that is like beating ourselves up of like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Like, I'm so dumb, whatever. But
I would have been
you were in survival mode. Like you were doing what you felt was like right in that moment. And I think it's just...
It was inundated in our faces. Like I was the Jersey Shore era. It was like gym, tan, laundry, go out and get messed up at the bar, like go and dance on a bar.
Yeah.
Like that was what you did when in the early 2000s.
So yeah, I mean, I think all these things are playing a role in the increased level of memory changes.
The social isolation piece for sure.
Yeah, but
and it's so sad.
It is nice to see. There's even something I saw recently. I haven't went to it yet, but it's like a coffee party in Toronto that they're doing with like making coffee.
They're turning espresso bars into clubs.
Yeah. No, this is like a day party.
Oh,
and they're like serving like coffee, and like it's not meant to be like an alcohol centered event.
No.
And they've done 3 volumes. I think they just had the 3rd one, and like it's growing so fast because so many people are giving up alcohol, or they're just wanting to connect sober, or people are sober curious. And so it's nice to see that
curious
starting now.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
I love this.
I didn't create that term,
too.
just saying.
Running clubs too.
Yeah. I haven't got there yet.
Me neither. Running away from the running club. Why are you running? Are you okay? Is somebody chasing you?
Like looking behind. Yeah. No, it's true. So yeah, social isolation. And we have so many older people who are living alone, not connecting with anyone. We have so many young people who are living alone, not connecting with anyone except for on the internet, which is an actual connection most of the time. But you know what? We can argue that.
Yeah.
I will say, I did my thesis in my degree on online communities and how that like self-development communities can help build connection. And I do believe that it can, because at the start of COVID, I joined a community which was like so impactful. It was exactly what I needed to get me through like the first year of the pandemic. But I feel like at one point then you just have to be very intentional with like, what's the community you're joining? What's the intention that you're setting with the community? Because I feel like people are looking for something, but they don't fully know what they're looking for.
Well, and I think too, like the idea of an online community at the beginning of the pandemic made sense because we were craving contact of any kind, even if it was virtual. But I think now it's very difficult to instill an online community because people are craving that in person so much. So it's like, we can have this online thing, but there still has to be an in-person component to it. And I'm noticing it so much in the younger people, and even people, you know, in their 30s, that we are identifying this need or this drive to want to reconnect in like older traditional ways. Like I am not even one to talk on FaceTime. Like I have a lot of friends that are like, oh, we can just have a FaceTime. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Like I'm very, very keen with technology. I love gizmos and gadgets and whatever, but I am so much better one-on-one with a person in like not groups. I don't love groups very much. I can work a room for a short period of time, but I hit like a energy battery depletion at some point. And then I'm like, gotta go. Bye. Gotta go hibernate for 6 days. But I'm so much better one-on-one, you know, go to the spa with a girlfriend, go for dinner with a friend, you know, like so much better.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's nice to see though that people are starting to connect with each other more. Cause I really feel like that's what's going to help us get out of this, or that's just what's going to bring us together. I feel like again, cause we're all just like silently struggling with the lack of connection. And what you had said, the loneliness epidemic, it's happening. Like we're living in it right now. It's not that it's coming. Like it's happening.
We're smack dab right in the middle of it. Like I've always imagined that and this is part of OBM, future state, current state, whatever, this intergenerational component where I think young people need to have an opportunity to have conversation and learn the wisdom of their elders. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason why these people are on our planet, and it's so that we can gain whatever experience and knowledge and wisdom. I keep thinking about that.
Yeah.
We're losing time. Like they're dropping like flies. And as fast as they're aging, the ones that are like centenarians, like 95 and above and 100-year-old plus, like I could literally just spend day after day, just downloading their brains. I would just love to know, because they were a part of the world when it was so different.
Yeah. I have something that happened recently, actually. My grandma, her best friend is 102.
What?
And I have been like even talking to you about like a New Day rebrand and how I want to start interviewing older adults and getting their wisdom, exactly like you said. And so I got the microphone and I kept saying like, Grandma, when can I like interview you guys? And she said, well, my friend, she's like not doing too well right now, but like maybe next week. And then my grandma called me and told me that her friend passed away. And so I was like,
guess I can't get the microphone out.
Well, yeah. And then I was also, it was just like,
sorry.
It's okay. Because she lived a great life, 102.
Yeah.
But it's just a reminder that like, you know, sometimes we like procrastinate and we're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. When you're working with people who are literally centurions or they're in the later stages of life, you don't have time, because I was so excited for that interview. And then that just showed me, okay, girl, get your microphone. Done is better than perfect. Go out and start interviewing people. And then I'm like, well, where am I going to find them?
Anywhere.
Literally everywhere. I was at the thrift store yesterday. There was this older lady. She had a cheetah fur jacket. Iconic. My friend who I was with, she's like, I love her jacket. I was like, you need to go tell her right now. Go tell her.
Yeah. Because brighten her day.
Right? I'm just like, if you like something on someone, I'm a big advocate. Tell them.
I do. I always do.
It costs nothing. It's going to make their day. When I was just coming here, there was a girl who had like butterfly hair clips and I was like, I love your hair clips. And she's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And you look so good. And I was like, wow, we both made each other's day for what?
Yeah. 30 seconds of an interaction that could totally.
Yeah. This older adult, I said to her, because I feel like a lot of people have that social anxiety or they're scared to speak up. Me, I'm grateful that is one of my skills. If I want to say something, I'll say it. So I said to her, go tell her. She went up and told the lady and like,
she probably had the cheesiest smile.
She saw us around the store 3 other times.
Amazing.
And every time she saw us, she went, I'm still here, girls. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. That makes my heart explode.
It made our day as well. And I just said to her, like, you need to tell people. And especially because she was a fashion icon.
Yeah.
She even she's like, where did you get the jacket? We're looking at this lady's tag.
She probably got it from like Sears in 1957. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
or what was it before Sears? It wasn't always Sears. Something else. I can't remember. Anyway.
It was from somewhere.
Woolworths or something. I don't know. Anyway.
But so that situation with my grandma's friend is just like reminding me like I need to do it, because it's not like, oh, it's people in their middle age or the younger generation. Like older adults are slipping away. If you look on any obituary like website for any city, you will see there's so many 100-year-olds now that are passing away. And also with our generation, do you really think our generation is going to be making it to 100 with the lifestyles we're living right now?
No. Well, I mean, you're all not drinking, so that's got a good thing, I
guess. But we're also not in any clubs. We don't have any third spaces. We're not socializing.
True. You want to know what I saw as a business idea? I'm like deep in the thick of entrepreneurship. Like I'm going to have 49 businesses before the end of this year is up.
Yeah.
Somebody doesn't stop me.
Maybe 50.
Maybe 50. 49. We'll stop at 49. So business idea for you and us and anybody who wants to be a part of it. The business of helping millennials clear out their boomer homes. Like, so think about all the knickknacks and paddywhacks and all the little things that the older generation has. All of the shit that they've accumulated in their attics and whatever. Apparently there's a huge need for support for younger people to figure out what to do with all of their loved ones' shit.
Oh, I actually just saw a TikTok yesterday where a girl's grandma passed away and she collected salt and pepper shakers, and she had over 2,000 different salt and pepper shakers.
I want them. Like I would buy them.
Yeah. Imagine like a museum.
I love that stuff.
Like what kind of collectibles have you seen older adults collect?
Spoons, plates, little figurine, lots of little figurine stuff, Corningware, freaking Tupperware. Like there's so much cool crap that old people have.
Yeah.
Like I just I would start a business tomorrow helping people go through their old vintage shit and figuring out what to do with it and donating what and what could be resold and like, that would be the funnest job ever.
It really would be.
Oh my God. Just going through old people's old shit.
But we don't also have that too. Cause it's like minimalist culture now with people. And it's like,
exactly.
You know, one thing I'm also passionate about.
Tell me.
Is, and your home is a beautiful example of this.
Thank you.
So many younger people now are in this beige, cream, neutrals, no personality in their homes. And then they're wondering why they're depressed. For me, like in my home, I'm like, anytime I can add a pop of color, anytime I can add something that says like, this is Emily's space, that's what I want to do. And I was reading something, I can't give the source because I can't remember right now.
That's okay. We're not APA, MLA referencing this.
So I was wondering because she was my past professor. I was hoping not. Okay. But it was like talking about how color impacts our mood. And then another reason, why are people so depressed? Well, look at your house, girl. Yeah. You only got cream, white, and black in your house. And then you're wondering
what color
why...
are you wearing? What colors are you wearing?
I did wear black today because I was like,
Well, listen, it's winter. You do have pink shoes on. I'm going to tell a story for my friend Shanzi because we went to an event on Thursday. You don't mind if I tell this story? We went to an event on Thursday night. So yeah, Shanzi and I went to this event and Shanzi didn't know what the venue was. I don't know what she had in mind, but when I explained to her the venue that we were going to, she's like, man, I would have worn something different. She looked fabulous. She was wearing like pink from head to toe, just like
love it.
Beautiful, bright. Pink is her color. It's her favorite color. And she's like, I should have worn something different. I'm like, no, it's fine. You look great. And so we go into this King West friggin' event space, right? You know, everybody in Toronto, you know, they're all wearing black or they're all wearing, you know, like jeans and long coats and whatever. She's the brightest star in the room. And this girl actually came up to her during the event and was like, I've been wanting to talk to you all night. You just look so fabulous. You're the best dressed in this room. Look at all of us. Look at all of us just dressed like schlubs, just wearing black and, you know, doom and gloom. And she just, you know, the colors that we wear and I don't know. I'm very, very latched onto green. I wear a lot of green and a lot of purple. Yeah. And a lot of black. But
purple is the color of royalty as well.
Ah, yes. Very royal. Very royal. I didn't know that. It's just my favorite color.
And then it's also like, it's just stripping away the individuality of each person. Yeah. When you're wearing the same clothes, wearing the same colors, a lot of people at like my work.
Maybe that's why I remember your hair. Maybe from your placement because you were not afraid to be different.
Like you were. Remember that coral blazer I had? I always got so many compliments on that.
I love that coral blazer. You wore that for your placement thing. I remember it vividly.
Yeah. No.
And I wish I could just have pictures of these things. I wish I could have pictures of the
past.
Go
back in time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So for me, even in my job, sometimes people will be like, wow, like you look so good. Like, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm coming to work. Like, I'm going to like put effort into it. I'm a pattern girl. So a lot of my closet, and my sister and I we recently discovered this because she likes the like neutrals and basics, but she likes solid colors, like a pink or something. I like patterns. So like my closet is like full of patterns. I feel like that's the way that I am able to like express my individuality.
Love it.
Then I found a picture of me on the first day of grade 3. Why was I in a blue paisley patterned shirt, like blouse? And I'm like, okay, so I've been a pattern girly.
Yeah. So you're a little girl.
Like the colors that we wear, the colors that we have in our house are also, I feel like, impacting our brain. Like if you are looking at an orange wall, you're probably going to feel better than looking at a white wall with nothing on it. And actually my cousin is a painter and she's like, I can't take painting one more white wall. I need people to pick different colors. And I was like, great, come paint my house.
I was just thinking like, I want to paint everything. It's just, this place is a little bit difficult because
you have a lot of color in it still. Like even the windows and just the artwork that you have. It doesn't
very intentional. Yeah. Very intentional.
It's such a beautiful space.
Thank you.
If only you guys could see
anytime
it.
you'd like to be on the All of You podcast. The set is here. You can see it in all its glory. Yeah.
So that's what I say.
Very good. We do a couple of segments on this show. Okay. So I think it's about time we segue into some segments. So the first one, we have these talking point cards. Okay. And you can see the themes are generations, resilience, and support. I think we can't do anything but generations
Yeah, I was
because
gonna
we
say,
have to do generations.
It's the
of
obvious choice.
It's the obvious choice given the theme of
Okay.
our episode. So I'm going to tell you the, what do we call this?
Nervous.
The category. Don't be nervous. The categories.
Okay.
So growing up, work
Ooh.
and play,
Okay.
family life, or big picture.
I love that.
Uh-huh.
Do I have to choose one?
Pick one. Yeah, pick one theme. Growing up, work and play, family
Let's do
life.
growing up.
Growing up is yellow. All right. I'm going to pick mine.
I'm gonna have to get these. Like that's so cool.
I love them. They're
Or just create my own version.
a new day. I'm going to choose.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to choose big picture. I always choose big picture. It's red.
Okay. So I just pick a random one?
Yep. Just a random one. And you're going to read
Okay.
mine to me and I'm going to read yours to you.
Ooh.
Do you want to go first to read to me or do you want me to read to you first?
You go first.
Okay. How did your family spend time together when you were young?
Well, actually,
You have an interesting family. I feel
Do
like
I?
you've told me stories about your family being very interesting.
Well, let me share one. Actually, how did we spend time together?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was driving here, I started to get a feeling of like some of these roads look familiar. And I had a feeling, I was like, we have to be near a Flying J. Do you know what a Flying J is?
So I do. It's at the end of Cedar Creek there.
Okay, so like it's a truck stop.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a long haul truck driver when we were growing up. And so when my parents were still together, we would meet him at the Flying J on like Sundays or whenever to like have dinner together before he got back on the road.
Yeah.
So it was like driving by it, I was like, oh wow, like I remember like being in the like truck with him and going to the States
Oh
and
my
like
goodness.
just being on the road with him and seeing the Flying J. I was like, wow, like time has like flown so much. And I remember their soup was so good when I went to the Flying J. Like
I love
debated
soup.
stopping there and getting
Soup
some.
season.
But how I would say we spent time together, I'll just speak with both my parents because they're not together, but with my dad, what we do now, or sorry, it's growing up. We still do
when
it
you
now.
were young. Yeah, whatever.
Play cards. So
Sick. What?
Romino 13. My dad was in the Navy, so he taught us games that he played
See,
there.
I knew your family. Where are your parents from?
My dad's from Ethiopia.
I knew it was Ethiopia. I was going to
Well,
say it, but
say
I
it
didn't
then.
want to. And the only reason that I knew it was Ethiopia is because I love Ethiopian food.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's an
last
Ethiopian restaurant in Toronto that I love.
Which one is it?
I'm not even going to remember the name.
Salam?
Yes. Oh my God.
Really?
Yes.
My dad's family friend owns it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we always
yes.
go there for his birthday.
I love Ethiopian food
Have you
so
had
much.
kutfo?
I'm not very good at remembering the names
Okay.
of things.
What
I could tell you. Yeah.
Like the raw minced beef. Have you ever had that one?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so that's kutfo. That's the best.
If you ever saw the episode with the Buck girls, the 4 little girls, the Gen Alphas,
Okay.
they love Ethiopian food. It's
Okay.
like one of their favorite cuisines.
Yeah, it's so good. And you know, even people who are like gluten-free and stuff, they can eat it because the injera is gluten-free.
yes. Is your
Fun fact.
mom Ethiopian too?
No, she's Canadian and
Okay.
her mom, like my grandma's like of British ancestry and then my grandpa's of German ancestry.
Nice.
Yeah,
I remember
so-
the Ethiopian thing. I was like, man, she
Yeah.
should cook for me sometime.
Well, next podcast, maybe
cooking with
Yeah.
them.
So I would say we played cards a lot with my dad growing up and then also camping. We used to go
sweet.
camping so much with my mom. And I'm like really grateful for those memories. Even just like I didn't recognize a lot of the privilege that I have with like being able to swim, being able to play sports, like certain things that we had access to. A lot of the time we would be spending time together also on the road because like all of us played soccer, all of us played hockey, dance, like, or we were at summer camp. So yeah, I would say the biggest things are playing cards and going camping.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like camping or glamping?
No camping.
Camping.
Like we would like tents and then we
sleeping
had a
bags.
trailer at one point, but we would usually go up to like Port Burwell Provincial Park.
Sweet. I know Port Burwell well. You can
Yeah.
walk so far out in the water and it's just very, very shallow.
Yeah, so that's
It's a
what we would
beautiful
do.
beach.
I
Nice.
remember one time when we were camping, I was going back to my grandma's campsite and there was a raccoon guarding the door to her trailer, drinking a big like 2-liter pop bottle and just hissed at me. I was maybe like 8 years old.
Those raccoons are crazy.
I was so scared.
They ransacked our campground a couple years ago. We went camping on a Labor Day weekend, and those raccoons, you could see their little handprints in the butter.
Yeah.
Like you could see where their fingers like scratched into the cream cheese or whatever. Yeah.
No, so that's what I would say. What about you? Can you answer the same question, or do we answer?
Yeah, okay. It's our show. We can do whatever we want. What did I do when I was a kid? We didn't camp so much. There was 4 kids. How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 and then me. So there's 3 of us.
3 of you. Okay. So there was 4 of us, and we were a wide range of age and all kinds of things. And my parents did not have a lot of money, but my stepmom, my adopted stepmom, her family had a cottage.
Oh,
so we spent our summers in Tobermory, or like on a small lake just outside of Tobermory.
Tobermory's nice.
Some of my fondest memories are from that. I had a very tumultuous, traumatic childhood.
I remember you sharing some things when we were together in school.
Like I mean, my memories are not like consistent with the same people. I have a lot of positive memories with a lot of people that were impactful and influential in my life and in my upbringing. But I would say if I think about my like family unit from a normal, whatever that is, I would say going to the cottage, and Tobermory is very, and that's why I love cottaging so much today. Like I make an intentional effort to go to the cottage. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's called cabinscapes. They're like tiny homes, but tiny, trailers that they convert, and it's off grid. It's like some of the funnest camping I've done in recent times. So I really enjoy doing that. I like being outdoorsy and doing outdoorsy fun things like that. That's
one thing I was going to say also is like, people aren't touching grass enough.
Yeah. Touch grass.
Like
seriously.
Even just like the serotonin boost that you get.
It's called grounding, isn't it? Like
literally
feet,
you're hugging a tree. Like those are all things that are good for our health as well, which I feel like if you live in a big city, or it's just like me, one thing I've gotten into in the last, I'd say year, is bird watching.
Oh, girl, my goodness, I can't go down that rabbit hole, but I would totally do that.
Right. Yeah. And so it's like, finding hobbies. We also don't have that. So sorry, when we were talking about camping, I'm like, some people have never gone camping. They're too scared to go camping. They would just want to,
fun.
They couldn't be away from Instagram for a couple days. Even right now, I feel like I would struggle a little bit, but knowing and like getting back to my roots, I'm sure I would be able to do it.
You could.
But I am an avid bird watcher.
Have you seen those I was going to say, did you see those bird watching cameras that you can set up with like the bird feeder? Oh my gosh.
Actually, one of my clients had one, and they were showing me it recently.
Oh my gosh.
They were like, we just captured a red-headed woodpecker.
And I was like, I saw a squirrel watching camera too.
Really?
I think it's called, anyway, Squirrels of Instagram. I'll send it to you later.
A good app if you are into bird watching or just catching birds is Merlin.
Okay.
Because then you hit record and it will tell you what birds are around you. So you might not even be able to see them, but you can hear them.
I love it. I love it. I'm trying to think if there was one other thing that I did with my family. When I was officially adopted at around 10 or 11 years old, we tried to instill like normal family routines and stuff. So like board games was also a big thing.
Nice.
And it was a way for us to like bond as a family. So I'm a huge board game fanatic.
What's your favorite board game?
Ooh, probably Carcassonne.
Ooh, I never played that.
I mean, it's up the same theme as, it's around the same theme as Settlers of Catan.
Is this a generational difference happening? No, I don't know that.
It's a very nerdy board game.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
but if you want something a little more mainstream, I don't know. My favorite was always Life. Like anytime, I always wanted to play the game of Life. And look at us now. We're playing, continuing to play.
I've never played Life, I don't think.
I know. You're coming over for a game board night.
The only game that I remember like board game playing when I was growing up is Snakes and Ladders in Trouble.
It's fun getting into trouble. Yeah, totally.
So maybe we do need to have a game board night. Like Monopoly, I could never get through a full game of it.
Really? Like, I am a diehard Monopoly too. But again, you have to be willing to commit an entire friggin' afternoon.
Yeah. Okay, well that's good to know. Now I have something I need to do.
Listen, board games all the way. I love it. I even have Risk. Like I have so many random board games that I love to play.
Okay.
Yeah,
I need to brush up.
All right.
Okay. My question for you is there anything left on your bucket list?
Are you kidding? Yes. A bajillion things.
Yeah. What would you say?
Banillion. I don't even know how many things I could say are on my bucket list.
What would you say is like, in 2025, would you say is like
There's
2
a
to 3
bajillion
things?
on my 2025.
To narrow it down, 2 to 3 things. What would you say if there's anything?
So most important is launching my for-profit business. So last year was the focus on the not-for-profit business. Things are happening with that sort of behind the scenes, and obviously the podcast is aligned with the not-for-profit.
Right.
But last week I registered myself as a sole proprietor for a for-profit business. So that's big on my bucket list for 2025 is to get that up and running. And I am so fascinated by entrepreneurship and being self-sufficient because I've worked for the system so long and I've been golden handcuffed to the system. And I look around me and I see all of these amazing people online and even, directly within my social network. I just see so many people doing creative things and things that they're passionate about. And the world is tipped on its axis right now. And I think that there's never been an easier time to be a business owner if you are keen to lean into social media. I've always been very fascinated with audio and visual, and I've watched YouTube more than television in the last 15 years of my life. Do you know what I mean? I'm a podcaster, audio book person. So that kind of segues into the second thing. I like to write a book. I'm very much wanting to write a book. It's been on my bucket list forever, but this year it would mean a great deal to me if I could make that happen.
About your life, or about like what would you want the genre to be?
17 books. But I think the book that I would put out into the universe right now is a comparison of career endeavors and online dating, or the dating world. I have this idea of writing some kind of a book around how finding ourselves and finding our partners, can be some sort of an overlapping thing, and like approaches for young people to think about.
That's super interesting. You definitely should do that.
I would also like to write a book about my life and some of the wackadoodle, situations that I've been through. Because people often will say, when they know the details of my life, you should maybe write a memoir or something. Because I think most people who have been through things that I've been through don't use it for good. I think it ends up breaking them. And I think it ends up, cyclical. And, if you're born into parents with substance abuse and drug addicted and teenage pregnancies and blah, 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 like it can be very hard to break out of that cycle. And I guess me being somebody who broke out of that cycle kind of makes me a person that should write a book about it.
And I think like something that I admire about you too, Shannon, is like, I don't know the full depths of everything that you've been through, but I just know, like, I remember when you were my professor, just like looking up to you so much because of how resilient you are. And just, you shared like certain details with us, but that never stopped you from like showing love and empathy and support to other people. And like you said, when somebody does go through hard things, oftentimes it's easier to be cold or turn yourself off to the world. And you've never done that. So I just want to say that's
don't make me cry. I cry on all of these episodes.
No, it's true. Like I literally still remember, I don't know if you remember exactly, but I like came to you about something that we were talking about, context and stuff. And I was like, I have a fear of something. And you just like spoke so supportively to me and like created that safe space, like outside of just being like a professor. And like, I'm like so grateful for that. And that's why I was like so excited also to like come here, because like you have been a pivotal part in like who I am and who I've developed into professionally, and just like teaching me to like just like be myself, but also just like don't be afraid to speak up, don't be afraid to ask. Like I remember I applied for a scholarship one year and you wrote a letter for me, but I didn't take it serious and I didn't get it. But then I applied for the same scholarship in my degree and I was like, okay, I need to do this properly. And then I got the scholarship. So like Yeah, I just appreciate you so much.
There's no gun held to her head, by the way.
And you know what she also told me? Great advice. She said, apply to every single scholarship. You're not in history, apply to the history scholarship. You want to know why? Because people in the history program probably aren't even applying to it. So you might still get it.
Yeah,
That's
that
advice. Do you remember giving me advice like that?
I would have told you that because
the
I did
history
that.
one. Yeah. She told me that. And I was like,
yeah,
dang, I really should.
There was this scholarship that was only for people that were studying like English literature and history or something. And I was like, well, I'm going to apply because whatever, because everything else I was eligible for. And they ended up contacting me and they said, no one applied except for you. Here's 300 or what was it? $3,500. They gave me $3,500.
Like apply to the scholarships, even if you don't meet all the requirements.
Not even just scholarships, apply to the jobs.
True.
Like, apply to the job. Even if you don't have all of the things on the list of job requirements or whatever, you don't know what the pool of other people looks like that you're competing against.
That's true.
Good remembering of that advice that I gave you.
I wouldn't forget. It's literally ingrained in my head.
Very good.
So it's core memory.
I love that. I love that you have a core memory that's attached to me. That's good. Okay. We have one more segment. So this segment is the olive and the pit. So the olive is your positive thing from the week and the pit is your thing for the week. So we usually try to end on an olive. So if you go first or if I go first, then I will, vice versa, end on an olive. Can you think of one?
Well, some may think it's a pit, but I think it's an olive as well. Like I told you, I had a resident pass away and I went to their funeral yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's obviously sad and rough to go there. But at the end of the day too, like hearing how well her family spoke of her and just like laughing in a time of like sorrow or grief is like, I wouldn't say that was a pit. I don't really think that this week I had any pits.
That's fine.
Which is
do an olive and a pit combined.
Actually, sorry, my pit was my fridge broke.
Oh,
and the other night, the other night I just heard the entire night, and I was like, it put me in such a bad mood at the point of when it was still going on at 5 a.m. I just got up and unplugged the fridge, and I was like, if I lose all my food, like that's fine.
Oh no!
So that was my pit.
Gross.
But luckily I got a new fridge the next day. So like my landlord is very quick with
landlord.
things. Yeah.
Excellent. Not a slumlord.
Yeah.
I like
that would be my pit. My olive would, there was a lot of olives this week. Being here is one of them. And just playing badminton with my friends. I don't know if you remember, I played badminton in college.
You did.
And I started playing again this year. So I'm really glad that I've done that.
Nice.
Or last year, I guess, because it's 2025. But those would be my olives.
Sweet.
Just spending time with loved ones. Honestly, like.
And it's flipping cold outside.
Sorry, also.
Go on.
I thrifted a Coach bag, a vintage Coach tote.
Oh my.
And it would have scared people away at the thrift store because there was marks all over it. But I was like, they don't know that these marks will come off with some vinegar and a little bit of water. It is so beautiful. I'll show you a picture of it after. And
I'm going to show you my vintage Coach. Because I have one. I pulled it out of the...
Okay, I'm excited. And then also I thrifted a fur... there must have been a place in St. Catharines that donated all their fur because they went out of business. So I got my first fur piece, which is like a shawl, but it's also a jacket because it does up for $30.
Stop it.
And it's like, I'm not going to buy like brand new fur, but like it's secondhand. So I was like, those are my olives. I got a lot of olives this week and I like eating olives. So there we go.
I love that.
What about you?
I need a fur jacket now that you've reminded me. That's very trendy. Very trendy.
Thrift on Kent.
I will be doing any place that I love thrifting so much.
Have you been to Thrift on Kent?
No.
It's a Mennonite thrift store. There's no tax on it.
Is it in Shakespeare?
Kitchener.
Kitchener. Oh.
There is one in New Hamburg and one in Kitchener.
What's it called?
MCC Thrift. But the Kitchener location is a Thrift on Kent.
Love it. Thrift on Kent.
Yeah.
Done.
And when I went there last time, I was looking for a cheetah fur jacket. If I would have walked into the store 2 minutes earlier, a lady exactly my size, she picked up a cheetah fur jacket. I followed her around the store for a little bit. Then I finally said, excuse me, sorry to interrupt you. Are you going to get that jacket? She's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this. The thrift gods blessed me today. Then I'm like, okay, you know what? She doesn't stop there. She's like, do you want to know what brand it is? I was like, sure. Tell me. It's a London Fog.
Oh,
It was $20. I said, I'll give you 50 for it. She's like, no, I'm not selling this. And I was like, do I follow her out to the parking lot? I didn't, guys. She still has a jacket because I thought I'll find something better.
You know, zebra is coming in for 2025.
My
zebra.
grade 8 grad dress was zebra print.
Wow.
And I was obsessed with zebra print.
Yeah, zebra's back in.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
Yeah, we're moving
Zebra
away
fur
from
jacket. Would you see?
Certainly, yeah.
I've never
haven't
seen that.
I haven't seen anything in thrifting where I like most recently, but what I'm seeing in the trends on social media.
You'll have to tell me some of your favorite thrift stores after as well.
I mean, anywhere that's thrift, but there's a very awesome thrift or antique-y kind of thrift store just across the way here. I'll point you in that direction.
Okay.
I guess I have to do my olive in my pit. Or I'll start with the pit.
Okay.
Did I have any pits this week? Oh. No, this was a good week. I had a good week. There was lots of good things. I'm actually feeling good about this week.
Good.
I think it's just I get overwhelmed very easily. Like I overcommit myself to things.
Okay.
And then I feel like a shitbag if I have to like cancel because I'm like, I can't.
I felt so bad canceling on you the first time too.
Don't. But I feel it also. Like anytime I have to reschedule something or I have to cancel something, I'm just like, please don't hate me, but I'm just not cognitively well.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I had some moments of overwhelm this week, but nothing that I would write home about. And then my olive for this week was the networking event. The podcast networking event.
Yeah.
On
what were you? I wanted to ask you, what were you wearing at the event? Did you wear color? Were you also in black?
I wore statement pants.
Okay.
So my pants were huge, like wide leg with like big bold pockets. And then I wore like a
love it.
Like a tight bodycon, like black turtleneck with an olive like trench coat kind of thing.
So iconic because
and combat boots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. You guys would have definitely stuck out. And also I just feel like too, like energy doesn't lie too. So when you guys walked in the room, your energy was just like a gold orb around you and everyone was like, who are they?
Yeah. It was great. And just to be in a room amongst people that also feel like podcasting is important.
Yeah.
Because it's not a totally normal thing yet. Like I think there's a lot of businesses that have podcasts, but I don't know how many people you know who have a podcast. Do you know a lot of people who have a podcast? Like one that has several episodes?
That I know, I would say it's more of a YouTube channel than a podcast.
Right.
But for an actual podcast, like consistently every week, I know two people.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like
it's very hard.
I started a podcast. I put 4 episodes out and then I stopped.
It's so hard.
It's hard.
Statistically, they say that most podcasts don't make it beyond 3 episodes.
Oh,
yeah.
One podcast that I think you might like. Have you ever listened to 9 Lives podcast?
Maybe.
With
sounds familiar.
Cassia Tierney. She's from the UK, but she like talks about how she's lived like 9 lives. That's why it's the name of the podcast.
Love that.
And she used to break it into seasons, and then she was like, "This season is just like everlasting. Like I'm not gonna put a cap on it."
Yeah, we're playing back and forth with what we're doing. We're in season 2 right now. I think I did that at the beginning of the episode, but yeah, some podcasts they do ever running 100 billion episodes.
Yeah.
We're breaking things down similar to semesters, I guess. Okay. Just similar to our structure. Very on brand. There's a method to the madness. Emily. There's a method to all of the madness here.
Well, I love that.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Well, I hope that you will do this again with me sometime.
Maybe. I feel like we have so much that we could still talk about.
I know.
What did we even talk about?
I know. Don't you black out a bit? Like you?
Yeah. Like I'll watch this back and be like, wait, I said this. Wait, how long have we been doing this for?
Probably close to an hour and a half. No, maybe 2 hours. I don't know.
I was looking at some of the episodes that I listened to were like 2 hours. It's good for like, if you're like putting on a podcast and then you're cleaning your apartment or you're doing something or going on a drive. Yeah. That's when I love to listen to long podcasts because it's almost like you're on the journey with them. So that's okay. I can stop talking.
No, let's talk more. No, we can talk more if you want to. What we end up doing is we post the long form, but then we cut this up into like 15 short forms. Okay. And then we'll probably have a few longer and a few shorter shorts. Like we're doing clips and shorts. Okay. So There will be
Love that.
lots, I think, that we can extract from our conversations.
And am I also able to like repost, like if you said in the drive, like, can I like post stuff to like my profile? Is that okay?
Of course you can. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely you can.
Okay.
Like we have an entire team, like shout out, not an entire
Shout
team.
out
It's
to
a
the
teeny
team.
tiny little mighty team, but Nick is our primary senior editor. And then we
Okay.
have Kashan who helps with thumbnails and stuff and reels. And then I don't know, I guess production team, of course, that helps with setting stuff up and taking things down. But yeah, anything that ends up on the drive, you can share. I hope you will. This is all, we're all learning. Like I say this to everyone who comes here, like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've learned along the way. Like the very first time we set up this podcast set, it took us 3 hours.
I mean, you guys have done amazing.
Like our guest sat here for like 2 hours waiting for us to set shit up. Yeah, it was.
Well,
it was
that didn't happen today. So we're
a well-oiled machine now, and that I think just kind of carries on with the what was I saying about the podcast networking event? Like I was able to speak with the president of a network, and he's like, "You should be so proud of what you've accomplished." And
you really should.
Yeah,
and in the span, I feel like of such a short time, like you might look at it and be like, oh, it's been kind of long, but I feel like what you guys have been able to do, even the setup, like behind the scenes is like, wow, I hope you guys are giving yourself credit for that, because so many people, they feel like they need to have this set up right away, but it's you work gradually to it. Even if you don't get there, still like it's phenomenal. If only you guys could see the behind the scenes and you would know what I'm talking about.
We'll take a POV. We'll post it.
True. That would be that's also promotional content for the podcast. Yeah. POV. You're on this podcast.
I got the Meta glasses.
What's that?
Like the video glasses.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. See, I had to get my prescription and whatever. They're coming in 2 weeks.
So what are they? Like they're literally
a camera. Like you can listen to the audio in your ear. You can take pictures. You can do video calls. You can take video recording.
See that? I feel like that stuff scares me.
Does it?
I don't even have AirPods. I don't have an Apple Watch. I don't have anything.
I don't wear my Apple Watch anymore.
If I could choose to, I got the iPhone 15, not knowing that you couldn't use the Apple headphones anymore, the wire ones. And so I still have my old Apple, like the iPhone SE, and I'll listen to music on that sometimes.
That's funny.
I just
not even wireless headphones?
I have wireless headphones, but I don't like.
See, I
don't like it.
The opposite.
It's scary for me because we don't know also the impact that's having on our brain.
You're thinking about the brain health thing. Oh my goodness.
I've read too, like with the AirPods or even like Bluetooth headphones, it's the waves are traveling to your head in a sense.
The proximity of your phone
at night, putting it on airplane mode. Yeah, like different things like the radiation. Like, why didn't is it Steve Jobs, the creator of Apple?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't he let his kids use their products?
Well,
why didn't Bill Gates let his kids use Microsoft? Different things like that.
I don't know. I mean, they know
allegedly. This is allegedly. I cannot confirm the validity of it. Yeah.
This is for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make her reference this afterwards.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that stuff scares me, but let me know how it is, because it's like, yes, I know that stuff would advance the content creation. That's going to advance like user experience, but is it going to advance me? I don't know. I'm just scared.
You know,
let me know. Give me your feedback, please.
I don't think that I'm going to live forever. I know I'm not going to live forever. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to live into my old years either. Like so I'm just trying to like, I don't know why. I feel like I'm probably going to live to like 70.
Okay.
So I'm almost 40. So like I
didn't realize that, because I think that we're like the same age a lot of the time. Like I thought maybe you were like 5 years older than me, like max.
No, well, I don't know how old you are. How old are you?
26.
Oh, baby, you're a baby. I'm like almost 12 years older than you.
What?
Yeah.
But also the people that I work with too, I'm like, wait, you're telling me you're this age? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I thought that we were only a couple years apart. But maybe it's just, I don't know. Because I find myself more aligned with an older age group.
Yeah. Not that you carry yourself very maturely. Yeah, you carry.
Most of the time.
I like all young people, but I tend to gravitate towards young people that have wisdom behind their eyes. You know what I mean? Like there's an immature 26-year-old
character development.
Ah, yes, personality. Yes, yeah. There's an immature 26-year-old and there's a mature 26-year-old. And you're one of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody.
Say something else. No, I was going to say, when people are like, you're so mature, I'm like, thanks. It's the things I had to go through growing up.
Thank you. It's the trauma.
Yeah. It's the character development, but no.
It's all for the plot, right?
Yeah.
All for the plot.
I'm grateful.
Me too. Well, everybody, this has been the All of You podcast, the podcast where we sit down with all of you and we talk about professional development and life and the things that influence us. But more importantly, it's just an opportunity to sit down as friends. Mentorship is very important. If you haven't already, hit that like, bell, notification, subscribe, send, share, all of those fun things. I'm not very good at doing these outros. You know this about me. Anyways.
And leave a review on Spotify.
Oh yeah, leave reviews. And anyways, we need all the help we can get. Anyways, this has been the All of You podcast, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.